in this week's episode of NDVision.
You know what's funny on that topic? My random side dream would be to open a true Southern honky tonk bar, and I wanted to call it Daisy Dukes.
Okay.
And instead of Hooters, the tops, it'd be
Shorts.
Weird side note.
I'll invest in that.
Yeah, you let me know. You let me know when a good place opens up, and I'll get it going.
Investors.
I feel like every girl has their, guy that you would what do they call it? When it's a suit, your hall pass or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Selena
Not
Gomez.
So it's so funny. Mine is probably the last thing you would think of, but Kevin knows this, is Johnny Knoxville.
Hello and welcome to this episode of NDVision. I'm super excited today that we have our very first sponsor. It is the Shop at Main. That's right on Main Street in Wellsville. And let's do a little cutaway. The Shop at Main, located at 89 North Main Street in Wellsville, is a small-town boutique and cafe with up-to-date trends. They offer clothing, accessories, and gifts at an affordable price. Need a morning or mid-afternoon pick-me-up? The Shop at Main has a wide selection of yummy caffeinated beverages as well as homemade pastries for your liking. Stop at the shop today.
I feel like we should have toasted.
Oh, we should toast.
We should still toast.
All right, let me do this. Cheers.
Cheers.
So as you can see, my guest here today is Jordan Lexus Costello, who's an incredibly talented photographer and social media presence who just got into fitness and mental health, right?
Yeah.
So Jordan, one of the first things I like to ask everybody is, tell me about yourself. So you can start back as early as you want to and go from there.
There's a lot.
I'm ready.
Let's see. I graduated from SciO, and I'm one of 4 kids. So I have a brother, 2 sisters.
Where do you sit?
I'm the middle girl. So I just call myself the middle child. We grew up on a farm, so very country, rural lifestyle. Very small school, graduated 20,
Yep.
very small.
I also went to SciO.
Yeah. And then I went to Alfred State because everybody pushed education so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really fit in. I started in nursing. I switched my major a weekend. I was like, well, this is not for me. I switched to vet tech. Loved it. I worked at Cuba Vet actually for a while.
Really?
And while I was finishing my degree. And I just realized the working 9 to 5 in a building every day was not going to be for me. And at the time, I was doing my photography business, working at the vet and working at the country club. So
And how old were you at this point?
18.
Okay.
Yeah. So 3 jobs. I
As
don't know,
an 18-year-old, that's...
Yeah, I've always been a very goal-driven person, filled my time with purpose. And so I left with 2 semesters left and was I told my husband at the time, who we met when we were really young. So he's been a big supporter my whole life. I just was give me 2 months and I'm going to prove to you that I can make this work full time for me. I was always the kind of person that didn't want to lean on somebody else for support financially.
Mm-hmm.
So I was give me 2 months and I'll prove to you that I can make this work for me.
Yeah.
And I just hustled as hard as I could. I reached into everything that I needed to know to grow my business on social media because I knew that was the way at the time to grow a business. Flyers and stuff don't really work anymore.
And what year was that? Would you say, that you truly started?
Well, I started my business my senior year of high school actually, and was legalized and everything. And then when I went full time with my business and left school, I think it was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. And I worked at the country club for a little while, just bartending and stuff like that, just for tips and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eventually left that and was just doing my business full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
You started really young.
Yeah. It's crazy actually. People will meet me, other vendors at a wedding and be like, how long have you been doing it? And I'm 11, 12 years. They're like, really? And I'm yeah.
You look 12.
I know. I'm definitely look younger than I am.
Yeah. If you want to take a drink, feel free to take
Okay.
drinks. How did you get into photography? Did you have a specific mentor or did you just take a class in high school and say, I like this?
No. So I was we grew up on the farm, lots of animals all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a kid and I didn't really have a lot of like I wasn't really like a technology person. I didn't play on iPads or computers or things like that. We were always outside. Yeah. Like that just wasn't my thing, I guess.
Well, growing up though, I was always outside. We grew
Yeah,
up on Jaeger Hill,
yes,
and it was
yeah.
just me and
There's just a
myself and I.
lot going on,
Yeah.
So you're like, so I remember asking my parents for a camera for Christmas, and they ended up getting me one, which now that I look back, I'm like, yeah, that's an easy gift to
What
get a
was it?
kid. I think it was a Canon T3i Rebel.
Oh,
Yeah. So at the
that's a
time,
crazy good camera
yeah,
for
yeah,
a kid.
yeah. And so I just
That
started.
was like top tier at the time.
Yeah,
Canon's Rebel series?
yeah.
Man.
So I just started taking pictures of animals. And that, like, my family would always be so supportive, They were like, oh, that looks so good, Jordan. So then they'd be like, will you take pictures of so-and-so, like my brother's kids, or my cousin at the time had a little girl. She was like, I think my first photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it just kind of grew, and then I would share things and people would be like, will you do it for me? And, like, it grew from there. Then it just turned into, like, a full-time passion.
Yeah.
So.
I love it when you can turn your passion into your income.
Yeah.
And also, it's very important. Like you mentioned, can I say Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned Kevin, your husband. I mean, without Nicole, I wouldn't be here where I am today.
Yeah.
Because I was working corporate jobs. I was either the marketing coordinator or video production manager, or whatever it may be. And when I decided to branch out on my own, she was like, "Yes, do it." She made me take the class to record first as like a thing, but yeah, it's awesome having a good support network of family, friends, and then especially your significant other. I think is the most important if you have a significant other.
Yeah, no, he was really great about being like, I'll support whatever you want to do, however you need me to just support you. And he was really understanding of me being like, okay, this weekend I have to be away. I have to photograph a wedding. Mm-hmm. So much to the point of like, I'm so thankful and so lucky to have him. But like when I had my son, I was like, as a business owner, you don't get maternity leave. You don't get, like, that's on you to save up.
3 days with Gray.
Yeah. So I photographed a wedding a week after having my first son. A week after. It was insane. And he came to the wedding with me, sat in the car, and, like, occupied the baby. When the baby needed to nurse, I took a break, which, like, God bless my clients, too, were, like, so understanding. Yeah. Thankfully, like, I had such a good relationship with my clients. So I'd nurse the baby quick, and I'd go back to work. Like, so, like, to that point of, like, support, like, he's always been so supportive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And then your kids become your biggest fans.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, my kids are, like, so supportive of it, and they, like, love to join in on photo shoots. Like, there's somewhere I'm like, okay, you guys got to hang out inside. Like, you can't come out for, but, like, I had a shoot this summer, actually. It was a little boy, super cute. But he was really shy. He didn't want to let go of his mom. Mm-hmm. And Marley ended up coming out at the end of the photo shoot and was like picking flowers to hand to him. And he just lit up. He was like, he got down. He let go of his mom. He was smiling. And I'm like, okay, this is working. Stay here, Marley. So.
Did you start out with a studio or did you just start out?
No, started outside.
Okay.
Yeah, my very first studio was probably... I'm trying to think like maybe 4 years into my business.
Okay.
And I rented the space on Main Street. And then that was before I had my kids.
On Main Street in Wellsville.
Yep.
I was in that same space.
Yes, yeah. And then from there, I was expecting my son. And I was like, okay, how am I going to make this work? Mm-hmm. My grandma at the time was living alone. She's here in Wellsville. She had a whole back area of her house that was just completely empty. So my husband is a contractor, so he remodeled it for me into a studio space. So again, like such a supportive family. Yeah. I would go in for photo shoots, leave my son with my grandma while I was doing the photo shoots, and then, be able to grab him when I was done and at home. Like it was just such a good support system. And then from there, I purchased one of the oldest first original buildings in SIO. Yeah.
From the Wizards, right?
Yeah.
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 Do they still own it when you bought it? Did you buy it from them?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So originally it was like the first grocery store, I think, in SIO.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. I have like the original key and everything, which I passed on to the girl who just bought it from me. But
who bought it?
Deb Miller. And she put in her mental health counseling center in there, which was like, it just aligned like all my values and everything. Like I was like, wow, this couldn't be better. Like I wanted the building to go to somebody who I knew had good intentions, and wasn't just going to turn it into like,
A brothel.
yes. So, yeah. So, and then I sold the building. Market was really high.
Yeah.
Opportunity was really good. And my values with photography were changing too. I didn't really want to do any studio work anymore. I just wanted to document true real life as it was happening moments.
Right.
And so I was like, the studio doesn't really align with me anymore. I'm ready for this like journey to be done. So sold it and moved on.
So when you started, you just liked taking photos.
Yeah.
Then who were the local top tier photographers when you started?
At the time, it's hard. Like it was not nearly as saturated
Right.
as it is now.
Pop-up photographers.
Yeah, it was not like that at all when I started. So I'm trying to think of some like Courtney Rowley. She was really good. She was out of Nunday area. She's still phenomenal. Liz Stearns was a photographer when I was doing it.
Oh, yeah.
We would collab together every once in a while. She was actually super helpful when I first started out. With just like teaching me about things. I'm trying to think of who else. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't know a lot of photographers.
Wow. Who is
It wasn't like I saw
Marika?
Oh yeah, Marika.
Marika.
She was great too. Like
Yeah.
she was doing all the seniors at the time. She did my senior photos.
And the only reason I know that is because all of her images are in Dr.
Yes.
Picasso's office.
Yeah. Yeah, she's amazing.
Is she still doing stuff?
I don't know, to be honest.
Oh.
I don't follow a lot of people on Facebook and stuff, so I don't know. But yeah, like when I started out, it wasn't like I had people I was watching that I was like, oh my God, I want to do that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it was totally different intentions. And then as I got further into things and developed like style, then I found like people that I aspired after and like found as inspiration, like Haley Faria and
Have you heard of Elena Shimlova?
No.
She's from Ukraine. Oh, I gotta look her up. We'll
yeah,
look her
I'll
up
have
later.
to, yeah.
She's like dreamy. I love her
Yeah.
photos. They're like fairy tale kind of style.
It's hard now, I will say, to be a photographer because there's so much inspiration in like a 15-second. Yeah, like you can just scroll through and pass by 40 photographers whose work is phenomenal.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard people be like, "Oh, I can do that with my phone,"
Yeah.
and it's like, well, in a sense, you can,
Yeah.
but you can't master framing. You can't master
Well, the quality
your lighting
is,
and
you
everything.
could definitely take a picture with your phone.
Yeah.
But like people could point out plain as day camera phone.
Yeah,
Like you could put the images side
If you
by
try
side
to
and you'll
blow it
always
up.
be able to tell. Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm not bashing. Also, I'm not bashing self-photography. 90% of the behind-the-scenes photos and stuff I
Yeah.
take are
No, you definitely need it. I mean, I love like having two different things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's nice to have it for behind the scenes. It's nice to have it for like, I don't always want to carry my big camera around with me. Like when
It's
we go
annoying.
to Pumpkinville with the kids, I just want to take a quick cell phone photo. I don't want to bring my whole camera.
For social media, these are
Yeah.
like, ooh, these
Yeah,
are great.
for sure.
Speaking of cameras, you're a Canon guy.
Yeah.
I'm
I have been
Sony
from
guy.
the beginning. I hear a lot of good things about Sony though.
Yeah. Well, I think Sony's more video people like Sony more
Yeah.
because the mirrorless Sonys.
Although
Oh,
I shoot an R6 and their video quality is phenomenal.
yeah.
So good.
So Canon is like
They're catching up.
Canon's the universal.
Yeah.
I would say. So Canon is both because I never have anything bad to say about Canon. Because they both do video, they keep up with Sony's video techniques, and then they have a really solid still photo as well. Nikon, we'll just breeze by Nikon, but no, Nikon's great for just still photos.
Yeah. I think I noticed the quality in colors are better in Canon. My personal opinion.
Yeah, Canon has a much softer tone. Sony is more sharp
Yeah.
and crisp, and then Nikon is doing their thing. My buddy Pete Mangle shoots on Nikons, and I bash him all the time. But he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah.
And he knows
He just
exactly
did my
what to do.
son's football photos.
Yeah. No, he's so talented.
Great.
He's going to be on eventually. But he's a Nikon shooter.
Yeah. And the people that love it.
Yeah.
And their work's great.
Mhm.
I couldn't shoot one to save my life.
I couldn't. I don't
I've
know
had-
how to work. He handed me his camera one time. I'm like, I can figure this out.
Yeah.
Nope.
I've had
Everything's
people reach
completely
out
different.
to me like they're like want help with their cameras and I'm like, what kind do you have? And then they tell me and I'm like, yeah, I can't help you.
Yeah.
I can't help you.
It is. It is. So Sony and Canon's kind of interface is similar. So like you could pick up one of my Sonys and know exactly what to do with it. I could pick up one of your Canons for the most part and know exactly what to do with it. Nikon, no clue.
Yeah.
Panasonic's up there. Panasonic's always just been hanging on.
Yeah.
With
It's funny
everything.
actually that you say that. Now that you say that, I lied. Nicole had a Nikon camera
Okay.
when I was young.
Your sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember picking hers up first and starting to take photos with it.
Was it like
and
the
that
D3000 or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Something like
that. Was
and that was when I asked my parents for a camera.
Yeah.
And then they had looked, and they're like, what's going to be the best? I think at the time they were like, what is going to actually be good for her? Like, you know what I mean? Not just a cheap junk one. Like,
No,
what's
the
going to bring
T3i
her?
was legitimately top tier when
Yeah.
that camera came out. That was the camera to have.
Yep.
Especially the I series that they had going on. Because you could do video, and they had a separate mic input on the I series.
And it's funny, like, I have...
Do you still have it?
Sold it. Sold it top grade.
Do you ever think back and like, I really want that camera back? Like if you found that camera, would you buy it back?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
If I sold a guitar once, very stupidly. I know I traded it in at the Music Alley for a different guitar that I really thought that I wanted, and then I was kicking myself, and I went back to trade it back in, and it was gone, and I've not been able to find it. But if I find it, I'm gonna buy it back.
To be honest, now though, like I value my lens 10 times more than I do my camera,
I just mean like this,
and that's like a photo thing.
Yeah.
Like because your lens is so crucial to your style.
Lenses, sometimes for people who aren't into photography or video, are more expensive than the bodies.
Yeah.
Most of the time, actually.
Yeah. Like I just recently started getting into filming hunts, actually. And it's like, you look at the lenses that you would like to have for filming hunting, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just make what I have work. Because that would be...
I'm surprised you don't have a GoPro.
I know, I should get one. But when I film, I really like things to be super cinematic looking.
Yep.
So I love that 1.4 aperture, which I know is like crazy, but
No, it's not
I just
crazy.
love it. And so for me to go to a GoPro, I would be like disappointed in the quality. Like I would be like, this doesn't look cinematic to me. And then it wouldn't align with me. It wouldn't align with my values. Like I filmed my niece's turkey hunt this last spring. And like the cinematic feel brought the sentimental emotion of like watching her and my brother together. And that was more what it was about for me versus like the hunt itself, Yeah. So that to me was like the memories. Same thing with my like reasoning of why I love photos. It's like the nostalgic feel of it.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you've heard that I got into the filming because of the Jackass. My buddies and I would.
Those are my favorite, by the way.
Yeah,
so that's funny that you say that.
We just would go around and I've told the story a million times. We'd go in and we'd steal the cameras, borrow the cameras from Mr. Pavlok. We'd go in there, and then we just go film stupid stuff. And I love capturing.
Yeah.
So a lot of my video peers will say that they love telling stories. But I'm a camera operator.
Yeah.
Right. I just love operating the camera and capturing moments. And then Stefan, my editor, he does a great job of taking what I film and putting it into
into a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and the reason I'm saying this is when I care less about that. So what you care about is very important to you.
Yeah.
I care about just capturing moments. So when I go on family trips, I used to think about it. And I used to be like, okay, I got to get this shot. What if I get this angle?
Yeah.
And Nicole's like, Can you
not?
Yeah, can you not? So now, but it's better now because now I just go and I know what my framing is going to be.
Right.
And I just hold it.
Yeah.
And I have it.
Yep.
So that way I can focus on what's happening with my kids, and everything on because I film at all of our family trips.
Right. I love that though. That's so awesome that you do that.
And then another one of my inspirations was America's Funniest Home Videos. I just love capturing.
I like that you say that. Like I love both of those. But it's funny, like I feel like every girl has their, like guy that you would like, what do they call it? Like when it's your hall pass or whatever.
Oh yeah. Selena
not
Gomez.
So it's so funny. Like mine is probably the last thing you would think of, but Kevin knows this, is Johnny Knoxville.
Oh,
like hands down, he's my hall pass. He has been since I was young.
Even with his white hair now?
Okay, we're talking like Johnny Knoxville in the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, okay,
or Jackass, yeah.
Gosh, Dukes of Hazzard, Jessica Simpson.
Yeah. You know what's funny on that topic? My like random side dream would be to open like a true Southern honky tonk bar, and I wanted to call it Daisy Dukes.
Okay.
And instead of like Hooters, like the tops, it'd be like
Shorts.
weird side note.
I will. I'll invest in that.
Yeah, you let me know. You let me know when a good place opens up, and I'll get it going.
Investors. The Depot. Hey guys.
For real. How good would that be though? Like if you had true country live music, you had Daisy Dukes, you had good beer.
You would get shunned. By the let's be honest, you would get shunned by the community. They shun head shops when they come in and everything.
Fun things.
Weren't you telling me about how you got yelled at for taking photos in in your first studio?
Yeah.
They were like,
yeah,
it's heathens.
I think people just always have different perspectives.
Yeah.
Of things, you know.
I'd be all for it.
But me, I'm down for a good time, and like that to me, it just sounds like a genuine good time.
It does.
Music, short. All of that.
I feel like
really
you should be living in Nashville.
I should be.
Like 100%. Nashville's your calling.
I should be. If I could get my whole family to move to Kentucky, I say this all the time. Kentucky is my like hometown. Love it there.
Marsden moved there. Jason Marsden. He loves it.
I love it there. The breweries down there are amazing. Just the agriculture, everything down there is so good.
Can I tell you? And we talked a little bit. We had lunch before this, so we prepped. But I do a lot of tourism. I do a lot of tourism filming. And just to caveat, I'm not putting breweries or wineries down. But if I never had to film one again, I would not be sad.
Yeah. But so I think that's where my point is coming with like the Daisy Dukes place.
Yeah.
It's like,
different.
If your brewery had cool things about it.
It has to be a destination.
Like it would be more like if you had good live country music, like of local people. Like it's funny, I know a lot of local musicians that would do so well at it, but they're like stuck playing at weddings and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they had more of a place to play versus just weddings.
Like Matt Burns.
Yes.
He's great.
There's a girl, she's on Facebook right now, Carrie Underwood. But not Carrie Underwood.
Okay.
I need to look her up really quick.
No worries. We can look her up on here if you want.
Yeah, she is amazing.
Brianna Blankenship, she's making a name for herself.
Yeah.
She plays in Ellicottville a lot.
You know who else? Adam Stack.
Oh,
I think,
God,
like I know he's out country, but like he's amazing at whatever he plays.
He is an extremely talented musician.
Yeah.
And the singing is like getting so good too.
Yeah.
I will go out for if Adam Stack's playing somewhere, I'll go out for that. If Matt Burns is playing somewhere, I went to the winery in Arkport just so I could watch Matt.
Yeah. But that's like, I don't know, that's just stuff I love. And that's like one thing that, you know, a lot of people have like things to say about their hometown or their communities that they grew up in and whatnot. But like, I have always loved where I came from.
Yeah.
And loved growing up here, and I love raising my kids here. I don't know. I think our community is great. And I think having things like that to go do and see, like, to me is much more fun than going to a movie on Friday night or something. Like, I don't know. I just like the atmosphere better.
This is kind of like a theme for this podcast. I feel like Wellsville and our area is on an uptick.
Yeah.
Because our generation is kind of taking over.
Yeah.
Per se. And I think it's being welcomed finally, you know.
Yeah.
Who was I talking to? Rich Shear. I was talking to about how I think we're closer to the boomer generation than we realize.
Yeah.
Because they are the ones that, you know, went out and started their own businesses and the small businesses and which grew, and then Generation X. There was of course people that you know, started their own businesses, but it wasn't as much, I feel like. And they worked for the boomer generation, and then or they got the hand-me-down, right?
Yeah.
So they got to take the businesses that their parents would start over, and then continue it on. And now we, the millennials, are starting our own businesses, and I think we're gonna get the Gen Zs working for us.
Yeah.
You know, to get the grow.
Yeah. No. It's really easy to sit online and read or say things that, like, you know, about your hometown, but. It's in every town, you know, there's negative things or things like that. It's a matter of like what you want to consume or what you want to listen to. Whereas I just choose to like look at all the good things in our community. And like, I'm so thankful to raise my kids here.
Our region is one of the prettiest regions as well.
Oh, for sure.
Anywhere.
For sure.
There's
I know.
no taking away from that.
Every time I travel, And, people are like, oh, you're from New York. And I'm like, not New York City. I'm like,
you have to always explain it the closest city.
Every time.
So
you
I'm
have
like,
to explain.
we're underneath Rochester.
Yeah. I always say 15 minutes of the PA border.
Yeah.
Because then they then they're like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, you mean you're Amish?
Yeah.
What you're doing? I have a question.
Yeah.
It's there. So, just to preface this, photography seems to go through phases as far as styles go.
Yeah.
And we were talking when Nicole and I got married. The big style was they would keep the bouquets in color and have everything else desaturated. And I had Jason Gildner do our wedding. And I'm like, please don't do any of that. I want black and white or just traditional style photography because it doesn't go out of style. And right now it seems like the is the browns. Like the sepia is the warm
tones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did that start, and what do you think? What do you foresee kind of being the next phase of photography?
It's hard to say.
And this could be your own words, like just what you think.
As far as when it started, I think as things have grown on social media, people kind of see something and then try to make it their own twist, which is, that's normal. That's like how life evolves. So I think like the collaboration of everyone getting on like those warmer tones, I guess is what I would call it. I think a lot of it has to do with skin tones.
Okay.
So like those warmer tones really, make somebody look tanner or just like warmer, more welcoming. Mm-hmm. Whereas like colder tones are more like,
vampire,
yeah, just like different, So I think a lot of people use the warmer tones because of that. As far as what it's transitioning into, it could be different tomorrow. It could be different Friday. Like it's just crazy how quickly things are multiplying and rapidly like changing. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to pick a style that you like. At first you're like, this is my style. But then there's like actually, 100 other people with very similar styles.
Yeah. It's so hard to be. It's same thing with music. So music and any creative, it's so hard to stand out because there are so many people.
Yeah.
We're more alike than we realize
in
minor things.
Yeah.
But I think if you just consistently do your own thing, which you do, is just kind of it.
Yeah, I used to put a lot of focus on trying to be different, like trying to make sure my work did not look like somebody else's. And that like really stressed me out because it was like you had to constantly change things for that to happen. So now I just don't like care. I just do whatever I want to do. And I actually like, it's funny, probably most people would think like a photographer has one preset and that's what they use like every time they edit. But I have like hundreds of presets and I use a different one almost every single time I edit. Yeah. Because it's just like whatever the session was itself, what the lighting was that day, what it felt like. I edit based off that.
I do that too. So, I mean, the most of the still images I take are from the air.
Yeah.
But I kind of match it to what I feel like it should be matched to. So my fall photos aren't just going to be the same as my winter photos aren't going to be the same as my summer photos. Right. And then it all depends on where I'm at too.
Right.
So like when we were in Maine last summer, I did a lot of like pink. Like a pink and purple hue because that's what it looked like in my eye.
In your eyes, yeah.
And I boosted it, of course. Everybody's like, "Oh, you boosted that photo." It's like, "Yeah, I did."
Yeah.
Because our camera cannot take what our eyes see. We have to boost
100%,
it.
100%.
Doesn't that get annoying?
Yeah, I know. When people are like, or you have people reach out and they're like, because I've had clients before say like, "Can I have this image not be so warm or something?" Or not. Her dress looks different in this. And I'm just like, yeah, no problem. Like, if that's what my client wants, that's what they hired me for, and I will adjust that for them. But as far as, like, work for myself, I'll 100% make sure that that's true to, like, what I want it to be.
Yeah. There's, I follow a photographer named Peter McKinnon. I don't know if you've watched him. He's out of Canada, but he just did a video on talking about that because he's mainly a photographer. Who does good video, but he talked about how he's been getting comments on what his style is now and how people are like, you've done better work. And he's like, well, this is my work.
Right.
Like, this is mine.
Right.
I'm doing what I want to do. And then for clients, we have to take, like they're paying us. So we have to take that constructive criticism.
And I've heard other photographers say like, well, I'm not going to change my work. This is my work. And I get that. I understand it. But at the same time, like, you're a service for somebody. And so, like, you are somewhat required to meet somebody's, desires and wants.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I think that that is like because like people get on Pinterest and they see images on here and they're like, here, this is like what I want to capture.
Yep.
Can you edit like this? And it's like, I might not be the best for you because that's not how I edit.
Mhm.
But just so you know, I can document this for you in a beautiful way, and I can edit a little bit lighter if you want that light, airy feeling.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to change my entire style for somebody, but I'm very upfront about that with people. Like, and I'll send like recommendations. I'll be like, oh, if that's the style you like, here's 7 people that shoot just like that.
Mhm. And
So.
people, I send people to you quite a bit, but people ask me because I don't do much still photography. And I will send it. I'll do the same thing. I'll send them. So if someone's like, we have this game that we want you to record, I'll send them to Pete.
Yeah.
Pete is a fantastic action
Yes.
photographer.
Oh, 100%.
Someone's like, do you do weddings? No.
Yep.
Here's Jordan, or
Same
here's
thing
whoever
for
else.
sports and things like that. I'll send them to Pete because
Yeah.
I'm like, he does great work. And like, I have the doctor's office here will reach out to me and they'll be like, hey, like, we really need headshots. And I'm like, that's not me. I don't
Yeah.
really do that. I'm like, but here's, great photographers that do. So
Mhm.
I know a lot of people talk about a saturated market, but I like having
Oh, a
people to
network.
refer people to. Yeah,
Yeah.
and a network. And like, it's great to have that. Like, I've been able to take a step back, not necessarily a step back, but find like more, I hate the word niche, so I'm not going to use the word niche.
Okay.
But
Niche.
I've been able to find more of what I find like happiness and passion in. So like families, instead of like having to feel the need to shoot everything. So I can turn those headshots away. I can turn stuff that I don't want to do away to somebody else because I have a great community of people who are good at it. Newborns.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do the posed newborn photos, but Amber is incredible at
Super
them.
good.
She has so much talent. So I am always like, people will message me and I'm like, I don't really want to do them for you, to be honest. Here's Amber. Like, she's amazing. I'm like, please go to her.
People always think you two have bad blood too.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no. Actually, we get along really well.
Because what I see her taking your photos and then you taking
Yeah,
her
we
photos
take
as
for each
well.
other all the time, which is really nice. And we live really close to each other.
Mhm.
So we can literally just drive over the hill. But no, our kids get along really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For a while there it was as far as what I thought top tier in our area it was you two.
Yeah. No,
Like
Amber
going-
is phenomenal. Yeah.
And then there's been plenty of what Jason Gildner actually coined this. He calls them pop-up photographers.
Yeah.
Someone who gets a digital camera and then they're like, I'm doing photos now.
Yeah.
And some that actually stick with it and learn to. One of the hardest things is learning to take criticism.
Yeah.
Which is basically what I do is because I have so many different clients.
Yeah.
And every client wants something different.
Different. Right.
And there are those clients that are like, just do you.
Right.
Do your thing.
Right.
We trust you. And those are amazing jobs.
Yeah.
But also sometimes they'll say that and then we're like, well, we had this in mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah.
I've done that.
Right.
But I think to what you said, any creator, photographer, graphic design, anything, the ones who can't take criticism or get offended
Yeah.
by criticism, I don't think are going to make it as long as someone who just understands that they're not criticizing you as a person.
Right. They're just saying like this is the vision they had in their head and they're trying to like
They're paying
get it
you for
across to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It does get frustrating at times, though.
Yeah.
Won't lie about that.
No, I can definitely like I see that side of it 100%.
Yeah. I mean, in any creative business, you have to learn
Yeah.
how to take criticism.
Yeah.
And understand that it's really not
Right.
a
It's not
person.
meant to be
It's not
hurtful. It's
personal.
meant to
Yeah.
be like, yeah. Yeah. No, I think a lot of the pop-up photographers, it's, everybody's motivations are different.
Mhm.
Somebody's doing it because they really do need the money and they need something to work for their family. And
Yeah.
I can support that.
Mhm.
I can get with that. I know like what it's like in the economy nowadays. So like do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they go on and realize like, oh, this is actually a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like it looked easy online. And then they're like, oh, this is actually a lot of work. And then they raise their prices.
Yep.
And that I'm like, okay, good. Like find value in your work. And I think other people just genuinely love to create
Yeah.
artwork, and like so their work is so unique. Like Zeravia, I hope I said her name right.
I think it's Zeravia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hers is so incredibly
She's
unique.
like a gothic.
Yes, and like, but it could not be duplicated. It's so unique through her eyes. She has no desire to photograph like somebody else because she has like, I feel, true passion behind what she's documenting.
Yeah. She's like, her water shots are so cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So, and I could never like, I don't have that moody vision in my head to shoot like that. You know what I mean? I like work that's like somewhat like a medium warm, lighter contrast, like so different. You know what I mean? Like I don't see things that way. So they could never be the same.
I feel like my style, if I had to pick a style, is either like making it pop,
Yeah.
like HDR, super saturated, or black and white.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
like,
and I love black and white.
I love shadows.
Yeah.
And black and white like just is made for shadows.
Yeah. I love I don't know if you scroll.
Yeah.
I'll show you like you said, that sepia almost. I love like a very nostalgic feel. You keep going through. We'll see if we find one. Might not even be on my page anymore. We'll see. But like see my dad and my son right there in the middle, like the very shadowy. I love that shot. That to me is my childhood. I grew up in that same barn, feeding animals with my dad and stuff. So like, there's my passion and reason behind that photo. Does it mean anything to anybody else? Probably not.
No, it means something to you.
Right. And does somebody look at it and they're like, oh, wow, what an amazing image? Probably not. But to me, it's like, that's everything.
Yeah. That does have a massive nostalgic feel.
Yeah. It just, and I don't know if my black and white one's on here. It should be.
I think
it might be further down.
I think if I had to describe something, that's what's hot right now is nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because we are nostalgic.
100%.
Let me keep going. Why isn't this going down? Here we go.
I know it's on there somewhere.
You take too many photos.
I do. I do.
There's a black and white one.
Yeah, kind of that color. I had one of my kids on here at one time.
Oh, Max.
Yeah. And it felt so, maybe it's not on here. It should be. Oh, yeah, right there. So my daughter in the curtain.
This one?
Yeah, that to me is like, I love that. It feels so captivating of like her personality, very sweet and just like a adorable little girl.
She's adorable.
Yeah, it just like, that's the kind of stuff I love.
Now, did you add all that grain?
Yeah.
That's cool. I love grain.
I love grain too. And then see, like I've had clients reach out to me before and say like, hey, I love the edit of these, but when I pulled them up, they were kind of, blurry.
Yeah.
And what they meant was grainy. And I was like, hey, no problem. I'll pull them back into Photoshop. I'll take the grain off for you. It'll be the same exact edit, but no grain.
Yeah.
And like, I'm willing to do that for somebody because I get where they're coming from. They might not see the creative effect of grain as I do.
Yep.
So I'm willing to do that.
Look at that. I love that.
That was actually up in the Catskills this time of year.
Really?
Yeah.
Where in the Catskills? I filmed there so much.
Oh shoot, I can't think of what the town was called. It's actually this farm called are they tagged? It was something like June Farms.
I don't see them tagged.
No. It was June Farms and it's like a really awesome place. Yeah, and see like even scrolling through these, it's crazy how much my style has changed.
Yeah. Cuz you still so this one these two are so this must have been you weren't doing as much of the brown as over here.
Yeah, more colors.
Or the warmth, I should say, sorry. But winter, winter is hard. Winter is a cool season.
You will see me share 2 winter photos.
Really?
And then I pretend like it's summer all year long.
I love what I love about winter is winter makes color pop.
Yeah.
Look at that. We could just look at your photos all day. So speaking of Instagram, you're very, very prevalent on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then do you put Instagram in more of your focus or Facebook?
100% Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ideal clientele to me is on Instagram.
Yeah.
So like clients that are somewhat my age, mothers who are having families that want to have their families documented are mostly on Instagram.
Yeah.
Some of the people who like, again, same thing with styles, like might like the more traditional styles are on Facebook and maybe might not be my ideal client, but I do still market on Facebook because I do still have some clients on there.
For me, Facebook is king because I'm a business to business. So I don't do as much, with private parties. A lot of what I do is in industrial or tourism or businesses. And my main following is female between the ages of 25 to 65.
Yep.
Right. That's what my analytics say.
Same.
But they are, a lot of them are business owners, but they're also the wives of business owners or the daughters of business owners that'll see my work. And whenever I tell people this all the time because they ask me all the time, like, how come you don't take any aerial images in Belmont? Or how come you don't take any aerial images of Bolivar? Well, I live in Andover and I work in Wellsville.
Right.
So those are what I mostly have up because it's easy for me just to go out if it's like a cool sunset and get it. And then I put some stuff on for marketing purposes.
Right.
And they're like, well, can you come take a picture of this? I'm like, sure, it'll be this much. And they're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought you just did that.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
That's one thing I'll say, like, as I've gone further into photography, as I've truly learned the value of my time.
Yeah.
And it used to really bother me to tell people no or to cut them a deal, but I think you either one, get burned so many times by somebody that you're like, all right, enough of this.
Yep.
Or two, you just realize like, all right, like if I'm going to be away from my family time, which I value the highest in my life is my family time.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be away from them, what I'm doing has got to be giving me value of almost equivalency.
Yeah.
So my prices accommodate that. Plus, people never realize how long I'm sitting at a computer screen staring to edit images, and then also how many hours are spent messaging clients, how many hours are spent doing my taxes, how many hours are spent with my accountant, how many hours are spent fixing gear. Like there's so
researching
much.
gear,
Everything.
studying. Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people think like, oh, you're a photographer, you just know how to do everything, but that's not the case. Like I've spent, countless trips mentoring with other photographers to like learn, to be able to make sure what I'm giving my clients is the best I can do.
Yep. I'll go to expos.
Yeah.
Tons of gear. I'm a gear guy.
Yeah.
I really like buying
Having
new
cool
gear.
gear,
360 is big for me right now. I'm still messing with it. I haven't really launched it, but I think it's getting to that point. But I'll go to expos like in Manhattan, the Javits Center. I just went to BuildCon, which is B&H. B&H have you been to the B&H store?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It is so cool.
You always go in there, you're like, man, if I had all the money.
I know. Are you Adorama or B&H mainly?
Actually, to be honest, I don't order anything off of those. Yeah, crazy.
What do you order from?
So, weird business tip. When I was starting out, I was young, so I needed to learn how to build credit and things like that. So I set up a Best Buy card.
Oh, I have Best Buy card.
Yeah, and so it's 12 months, no financing. So
sometimes it's 18 months.
Yeah, so if I was going to buy new equipment, I told myself, okay, like we're going to buy this, we're going to put it on the card. You're going to spend those 12 months working your ass off and pay it off.
Yep.
And then I built my credit and got new gear in the process of that. So
have you taken out a loan at all?
Oh yeah.
For your business?
Oh yeah.
I have not taken out a loan.
I took out a loan to purchase equipment. I took out a loan for my studio. I've taken out, I'm trying to think what else for. It might have been it. I took out a loan for my horse, which I also count as like business use.
We can't forget to talk about the horses that my parents have. I haven't taken out a loan because so while I was working for other people, I was kind of gathering gear over time. I didn't turn my phone on silent. This is the second podcast in a row I haven't done that. But I do a lot of reinvesting. So I'll work, if I want something new, I'm like, okay, how many jobs is it going to take to get that? What I want? And then I research the crap out of it.
Yeah.
So for all this podcasting gear, it was pretty much, I narrowed it down to two. It was either going to be Rode or Tascam. and I went with the slightly cheaper option because it was the exact same as the other one. But I'm not opposed to shelling out,
Yeah.
for the if someone says this is the best, you need to get this. And I agree with them, I'll get it. I don't always agree.
Yeah.
I'll be like, no, I can get this
Yeah.
this Sigma lens over, the Sony lens.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, no, that's the thing about being a business owner is you don't have that job paycheck coming in every week to show the bank to be like, hey, yeah, I can afford to do this.
Yep.
So you have to have some type of credit to show them like, yeah, I can afford to do this.
And
that's
business
just,
credit too.
Right. And that's just even for purchasing a car. Like my husband and I keep everything financially very separate. We just always have since we were young because we were both business owners and stuff. So we always kept things separate. And so I was like, I can't, show like, yeah, he gets a paycheck at the end of the week so that I can get my vehicle.
Yeah.
But I'm also paying for my vehicle myself. So I had to be able to show them like, yeah, here's my credit. Here's what I make in a year. I mean, that's tricky with pop-up photographers. It's like, you got to be legal.
Yeah.
You got to pay your taxes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily just so that somebody doesn't turn you in. It's also so that you can take out a loan to buy a nice car for all the hard work you've been doing.
Now, are you a sole proprietor or are you LLC?
Sole proprietor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just switched this year.
Did you?
My 5th year to an LLC.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. Just for what I do.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have lots of equipment and I'm in,
right.
I do a lot of industrial stuff. So I'm in manufacturing plants. If one of my
right.
pieces falls out, you know
right.
what I mean? Or someone trips
so
over
I,
a light.
I carry a separate insurance for my business.
Yeah.
So same exact thing. Anytime something happens, if equipment breaks or something like that, I'm thankfully like I have all that covered. But
yeah. So that way, if I do get sued, they can't sue me.
Right.
They sue Genesee Valley Media.
Right.
But yeah, sorry, I don't. And then you have your friends that are like, oh, you own your own business. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, I have multiple bosses.
Yeah.
Right.
Every
Every client is a boss.
Right. Yep.
But it does give you, the opportunity. Like I can just, if I have a free day,
yeah, absolutely.
I can go salmon fishing.
Absolutely.
Or go fishing in general.
And that's the beauty of being a business owner. Like I push for it. I tell people like before you go to school, to college, look at your life around you.
Yeah.
What do you want to do the rest of your life? If you don't want to sit in a building every day, look into what else you can find a skill in.
Yeah.
Whether it's doing pottery or being a photographer or being a dog walker. Yeah. Like no matter what it is, you can make
a lot of money in
You
LA.
can make great money doing anything. It's how you market it, it's how much time you put into it, it's how hard you're willing to hustle. A lot of people have this mindset of like, rest, take it easy, like, on your mental health, which I 100% like, we'll get into that. There's, I think different things, you know what I mean? I think different things about that. But in order to make a business work, you've got to be willing to hustle.
Yeah.
You've got to hustle.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And I do, I talk about this a lot, but I prioritize work. Work is actually at the bottom of my totem pole. Mm-hmm. It goes Nicole. So even over our kids, it goes Nicole, the kids, work are the top 3. And then Nicole's our work, school, kids, me. But we balance.
Yeah.
Out. And I'm sure you and Kevin have your own formula.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, if the worst thing happened, of course your family would always come first.
Yeah.
But being a business owner, that there's going to be Friday nights where you're like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Like you guys go to dinner, you guys have fun, I have to do this. Even for people who, like own the brewery and stuff, like they have to work.
They have to be there.
Like they have to be there. You have to be willing to. That's part of being a business owner. It can look really glamorous. Like, oh yeah, she gets to wake up and go to the gym. She gets to have this free time. It's like, yeah, I do that, but I also sacrifice a lot of my family time to make my business work.
I'm super blessed that I found Stefan.
Yeah.
Because he does a lot of the post-production. So I'll go out and film, and then he takes, and not all, we tag team.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have him, I wouldn't be able to keep up at the capacity that I'm keeping up at right now. And even now, I'm like, God, I need another me, like another film person.
Yeah.
Anybody that is into film, please reach out to me. But yours is so personable. What you do is so personable. You kind of have you.
Yeah, I have to be.
Yeah.
I've had people reach out to me before and say like, "Hey, Jordan, like, I'd love to help you on social media if you need a second hand and stuff like that. And I always appreciate people reaching out to me. It's super sweet of them. But I've always declined just because I am really, really, I've put so much time into what I have that I just want everything to be truly authentically me.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, it's like this whole AI chat thing, all this. Nobody could ever truly generate what I'm feeling or my emotions. You know what I mean? Like,
It's just AI.
it's crazy.
AI terrified me, and it still really terrifies me. But I listened to a TED talk, and the person was talking specifically for our industry, the creative industry, and he said, if you push AI away, you're going to fall away yourself.
Yeah.
Because businesses, and not necessarily for us, for like the private sector, but businesses are going to be hiring people
who have experience
in it and doing the AI.
Yeah.
And then
I will admit I learned how to use it on Photoshop just for like being able to edit something out of a background.
Yeah.
It's crazy how you can just like circle it, type in, remove the poll.
Yeah.
And it just is gone. Yeah. So like in that aspect, totally will use it. But I've also seen, because I do a lot of social media marketing, I've seen where people will type in, generate an emotional post about mothers and postpartum.
Yeah.
And that to me is like the biggest, like, I cannot. Like, you could never they could never know what to write about it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have lived it to truly understand the mental health that a mother goes through.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Speaking of mental health, you explained to me, and I want you to go in more detail. You explained to me that you work out now because you got really into fitness, but it's not necessarily for image. It's more for your mental health.
Yeah,
Can you go into that a little bit? We got some time left. I want to hear about this.
You could scroll back up to the beginning if you want. That's like kind of all my mental health stuff.
We went down far.
Yeah, we did.
You tell me what you want me to click on.
Oh, you're good. You can, yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I personally went through my own, like, mental health is hugely important to me. And in a way of, I see a lot of different sides of it online. I see a lot of people saying, like, give people time, you need to rest, you need self-care, like, go get your nails done. And like, me as a mother, I went through some of the hardest things I've ever gone through in my life. I didn't realize how hard motherhood was going to be. Being a 24/7 caretaker for somebody is extremely demanding. Also, like, anxiety, like, just, oh my God, it was crazy when I had my kids. And so.
Was it a postpartum or?
So it was funny. Like, I knew what postpartum depression was. I had heard people talk about it before. But what I was going through, I knew wasn't depression. I was like, I'm not depressed. I am like terrified of every single thing happening, like the worst things. Like, and so I was like, I know I'm going through something different. I don't know what it's called. Well, then I learned about postpartum anxiety.
Okay.
And so I went to my doctor, and that was after a year of struggling. I went to my doctor and asked for help. They immediately pushed medication.
Yep.
Told me I needed to cut back in my life on what I was doing. I needed to not be booking so much. I needed to take more family time. I needed to not stretch myself so thin. That was what they told me. And I was like, this just doesn't feel right.
Right.
I don't want to be on medication. And I have nothing against medication. I knew for me personally, I didn't want to be relying on it. And so I was like, there's got to be something else. So I suffered a little while longer. I finally reached out to a therapist. Never realized how incredibly beneficial that would be. I think there's like this stereotype that you just sit in a room and you talk and it's like just weird.
Yeah, and
oh my God,
people are not quite as much anymore. People used to be afraid to go to
it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
And actually, I do most of my therapy sessions Zoom, like just in the comfort of my own home, and like it's like my best friend that I'm just chatting with. And she puts things in perspective for me.
An unbiased listener.
Yes.
Yeah.
So started with the therapy, and that got better, but there were just still things that were not great with my body, and I'm talking like hormones, you know. And I got to like a very low point in my life of like I was miserable, but my life around me was so great.
Right.
So it was like, what is going on that I can't get this to be in line? And that was when I reached out to a personal trainer and decided like, okay, I'm going to do this for me. This time I'm not going to quit. I'm going to prove to myself that I can do this 100%.
Who is your personal trainer that you went out to?
So I, at the time was, Riley Comstock.
Okay.
And then I work with Grayson Van Dyke now. She owns, Body by G.
Okay.
Yep. So, both amazing trainers. And I didn't realize how therapeutic weightlifting was going to be for me. Like I think it's like you leave high school, and if you're a sports person, you have all this challenge in high school to be the best you can be.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get out of high school and you're like, well, I don't really have anybody to compete with, like,
Except for yourself.
Yeah, except for yourself, which is like a whole nother journey in itself to realize how far can you push yourself.
Yep.
And so like weightlifting kind of brought that back to me. I was like, all right, how much weight can I get this time?
Yeah.
How much weight can I get this time? Like, how many reps can I do? How many pull-ups can I do? And it completely changed my life. Like, I have the most clear mental space now. I see everything around me. I'm so happy, like, genuinely. And that was when I was like, I've lost certain people in my life due to mental health. And so I thought to myself, like, I need to share this with people, because if they could have known, like, how helpful this would be, maybe it could have saved them.
Mm-hmm.
And so other mothers going through the same things as me, you don't have to be in that, like, I think some people online are like, I'm a hot mess and it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's normal, but it's like, that's not normal actually. Like you shouldn't have to feel chaotic and stressed and just like your house is a mess all the time and all of that. Like, I wish now I would have known that back then, that like, no, prioritize your health, prioritize your mental health so that you can feel good, so you can be present with your kids.
Yeah.
There were so many moments that I was not mentally there for, because I was just drowning in chaos, that like now I look back and I'm like, why did I suffer so
And it was all inside yourself.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, it's been extremely therapeutic for me to find this outlet.
And that's why, I mean, I'm assuming that's why you're making all these posts, because you want to reach out and show people that, hey, you can do this.
Yes.
And there's other people here that can help you through this.
Yes,
right?
100%. I think just find something to do and do it. A lot of people are advocating for like, rest and self-care being like getting your nails done and things like that. But self-care is nourishing your body with good food so that your hormone levels are regular, so that you feel good. Back when it was the cavemen and stuff like that, there wasn't all this like crap and hormones and dyes and all that stuff in your food that makes you feel like shit.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It is true. And I remember when Nicole and I we were pregnant with Gwen, and I used to watch, we love Food Network. And I'm never going to let my kids eat Burger King and McDonald's and stuff. But it's like, it's so convenient. Yeah. And they make it that way.
Yeah. And you can find a healthy balance. Yeah. Like, my kids have had McDonald's before.
Oh, yeah.
But 90% of the week, we we live on a farm. We raise all our own meat. So 90% of the week, we are eating at home, and I'm feeding them food that I know is going to nourish them to have a good day as, wherever they're going to be. I know that, like, kids get exhausted and tired and cranky. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, what can I feed them today that's going to give them the best fuel for their bodies to operate and function, like, in a healthy way for them? But have we been on road trips before where we're like, yes, 100%, and we've stopped and got McDonald's,
And it's so good.
Yeah, it's
so much sugar in it. Like, I remember I had a what did I have? I was listening to a podcast, and someone was talking about how sweet. I think it was a Joe Rogan podcast. He was talking about how he stopped at McDonald's and got a double quarter pounder with cheese. And he talked about how sweet it was, because he hadn't had one in a while. And we don't really go to McDonald's. We go to Burger King. Won't lie about that. But I went to McDonald's and I got one. I'm like, holy shit, this is super sweet. Yeah. Like, it was legitimately like a candy bar almost.
But it's just like burger. A commercial on TV. Their tactics of what they put in the food is to make you want more. And that's like where a lot of mental strength comes from. It's like, how strong can you be to I'm not saying restrict the rest of your life or say no the rest of your life.
Right.
It's how strong can you be to make the right decisions 90% of the time and enjoy your life. Like, find that healthy balance. I would never, I'm not into, I did that before I found my journey that I'm on now, where I would restrict. And then you would like binge eat because you're starving.
Right.
So like I have found such a healthy balance with like nourishing my body in positive ways. And it's been so beneficial to my mental health.
And this happened quickly too.
Very quick.
Like you went. What was that image?
Yes.
How?
So I started back in December, so I'm almost a year in, and I'm down 30 pounds and just like, it's easy. You put those photos side by side and it's easy to see like, oh, wow, that really worked for her. But if you could see mentally in my brain, it's like you take the oldest, dirtiest window.
Yeah.
And then spray it up with some Windex and wipe it down. And like, that's what my brain would look like.
Right.
Just so much clearer and happier. Like, there's things I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, I was suffering so bad. And if I had just known that I just needed to tough it out for 3 months, I just needed to stick with the workouts and the food for 3 months. And then like life became so easy. It's so easy now to do that. I'm having coffee with cream and sugar in it. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to restrict things.
Right.
It's just a matter of finding like good balance.
I do know for a fact that you have inspired people. I was talking to my buddy, and he was like, "Oh, we got to go work out." I'm like, "When did you start working out?" He's like, "Well, Jordan Costello has been doing a lot of this workout stuff, so it made us want to go work out and get healthier." And I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
And I was like, "She's gonna be on the podcast here."
Yeah,
but
no, there's a lot of like, I think people are starting to realize now how much just your general health can play a role in your whole life. Like, how you feel.
Yeah, and we have a as much as possible. So growing up, we would always have dinner together, right, as a family. So we'd sit around the dinner table, and it might not have been the table. There were still pizza nights, but we'd watch a movie together.
Yeah.
And Nicole and I try to implement that, where if we are able, we'll be home and we'll be having some sort of meal together.
Yeah.
As a family, and I think that's important too.
Yeah, 100%. I think the reason I do all of this is for my kids.
Yeah.
I want them to see a mother that not only believes in herself but loves her body, but is also so strong. I want them to see like that she can go through really hard times in her life, and while it's bad in the middle of it and it's hard, she kept pushing through and got through it.
Yeah.
So, and Marley and Vincent have, said before, like, oh, I'm strong. And they'll flex their muscles. I'm like, yeah, you are. And I hope that they carry that with them their whole life. And I hope that they see, like, Vincent actually is really funny. One of my friends was telling me he was leaving Texas Hot. They always get their lollipops on the way out.
Oh, yeah. You have to.
And
I do.
he took 2.
Oh.
And he goes, but wait, I'm going to put this one back, because my mom said sugar's not good for your immune system. So I'm only going to have 1. That way I can stay, And so I'm like, okay, he does hear me,
Yeah.
He's hearing a little bit of what I'm saying. And I hope that he'll carry those as he gets older, so he can say like, I want him to go to whatever he does, whether he goes into the workforce or college or whatever. I want him to be able to go to a party with his friends and say like, yeah, I can have a beer, but I don't need to have 40 of them and look like an idiot and feel like shit the next day.
Yeah.
I want them to know that like there can be a healthy balance of life.
Your kids do watch you and they notice stuff. So we drink a lot of I love water. I'll drink water more than anything. I do love a good Mountain Dew, and I love like Katie has the shop at Main on Main Street in Wellsville has the pumpkin cold brew. God, I love those.
Oh, love
They're
a cold brew.
so good.
Love a cold brew.
So good. But today I was like, I need to drink some Pedialyte. I'm feeling a little dehydrated.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, there's sugar in that. And I'm like, I didn't know. Stop what Walking said. But our kids watch us and they prefer to drink water more than anything.
Yeah.
And we'll give them a treat like an orange soda or a root beer. We still try to stay away from the caffeinated drinks. And then if they get wily, we'll send them outside.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go run around the house.
Yeah.
For a bit.
Yeah.
Or something. So it is crazy how much your kids take away from you and how much you don't even realize they're taking away from you.
And I want them to know, like, I think a lot of people think like, I need to get healthy so my life can be perfect.
Yep.
Your life is never going to be perfect.
Mhm.
And the sooner you let go of that, the sooner you'll be happier.
I tell
You
my
know?
friends that so we were kind of the Nicole and I were the elders, I guess,
Yeah.
relationship elders. So we had like we were married before anybody else, and so a lot of my buddies would like model their relationship after ours because they see what they see,
Right.
right? And they didn't see that relationship and add anything is work.
So
It's
much
a
work.
lot of work.
So much work.
We've done we're in a very good place now. Ever since having kids, it like
Yeah.
clicked on things. But we went through marriage counseling before.
Same.
It's work.
Yeah. No, same. Like, and same thing. I used to think that, like, oh, marriage counseling meant you were failing.
Yeah, you're gonna get a divorce.
You're going to get a divorce, so you got to
Right.
go to save your marriage. Oh my God, is it not that?
Mm-hmm.
We went and I learned so many communication skills that benefited our marriage in such a positive way. We are so healthy right now because of that. And
Yeah.
so I've talked about that online publicly of like, please go.
Yeah.
If you are in a marriage, please go, because it's not what, and even Kevin, like, we left that day, the very first one, and I remember being like, God, that's kind of hard, because you talk about all the shit that's like,
That's going wrong.
Yeah. And he was like, that was great.
Yeah.
He was ready to go to the next one. I'm like, okay. Like, that's not what I expected. But yeah, like, if you think that your life is going to be perfect one day, it's just not going to be. You just have to be okay with finding like that healthy balance and like work towards things that bring you joy.
Mm-hmm. It's never going to be a perfect time to get engaged.
Yeah, no.
It's never going to be a perfect time to have kids. It's never going to be a perfect time to get married. I think what Nicole and I did, and what makes us successful as, like, I love my wife to pieces. What makes us successful as a couple is that we know that it's not going to be what we envision, and we're okay with it.
Right.
And it's perfect in our eyes.
Right.
Right? Someone outside looking in might see something completely different than what we see.
Yep.
For each other.
Same thing as like health for people. Like, the weightlifting works really well for me.
Mm-hmm.
My sister-in-law, on the other hand, she could run to Kansas and back. My sister, Erica.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she just
did a half marathon or marathon,
she's
right?
incredible.
She did
She's
the
like
wine
the
marathon.
most amazing runner, and she runs all the time. And that for her is her outlet.
Is she doing Ridge Walk?
I'm not sure actually. It's the homecoming this weekend, so I'm not sure. It's her daughter's first homecoming. Yeah. So it's just everybody will find different things, but whatever you find, stick with it. Make time for it. Realize that like giving yourself that outlet and space is okay to do.
And that's why you are so public. And
Yeah.
I love that you're so public about everything that you do.
Yeah.
Because it does help.
Yeah, and that's why I wish that I would have known these things, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that would have been a trend 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I would have saved myself a lot of hangovers. No, I would have just realized so much sooner that it's so easy to be happy. It's so easy to realize how great your life is, and that you don't need all these extra things. I think a lot of people chase money, having big things, and in reality, it's like those things aren't going to bring you happiness. Happiness is the people you spend your life with, that you share your moments with.
I actually found more success. So I talked about this with Mackenzie Kreischer. She was on, like, I think, third episode, but we talked about that. And I found more success when I stopped chasing the money.
Yeah.
Stopped taking every single job that someone came at me with. And I still have a soft spot for any community projects.
Yeah.
I'll do that. And
Same.
I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if there's something that I just like, I'm like, I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
I'll pass it on to someone else. Like, we talked about earlier with our networks.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that was kind of why I changed my business so much, is to only accepting like certain sessions and, adjusting my pricing to be able to accommodate that. But same thing with the community. There's work that I've done that's, for free, because I just love giving back to my community in that way.
And with that, I really, really appreciate you coming on. It happened.
Yeah.
Yay. And is there anything that you got going on that you want to let the community know about, or any words of wisdom?
I am working with a personal trainer now, so if anybody does want to reach out and get started on their journey, please reach out to me. I'm happy to pass along any information to you. We have great local gyms and community, and also therapists. I have a great recommendation list of therapists that are local and also via Zoom. So if anybody's looking for one, I would be happy to send that along.
Awesome. And again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And so, this episode was sponsored by the Shop at Main. And if you've made it this far through the podcast, the first 10 people that walk into the Shop at Main and mention the NDVision podcast will get $1 off their drink. First 10 separate people that walk in. So you've had to watch it this long, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you so much for having me, Nick.
Let me spin the lid, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this episode was sponsored by the Shop at Main, and then I'm going to be like, like an obnoxious sip.
I like the sound effect.